Just let's bring the awareness to the industry on to grow smart. And that is key here, especially in the economic times we're in. You've got to
Yeah.
grow smart. I also think, which is really important that people don't really talk about, is the campaigns that are running in your offices. What do they look like operationally? And what do they look like on the marketing side? Just the few little tactical things that they'll come away with
Yeah.
will really put them in that model of, when do I start scaling and what does it look like?
Welcome to another episode of Dental Marketing Theory. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I am the founder of SMC National, where we help you have more predictable new patient flow so you can grow your offices the way that you want. And today I have a special guest, the one, the only, Dee Fischer. And Dee and I were just talking right now about this amazing event that we have coming up at the Dykema event on July 19th. We're going to be hosting a one-day boot camp right before the Dykema event, and I'm super excited because we're going to be co-hosting this together, which is the second time that we've done this. And the first time we did it, it was so much fun, and it was just a great response. So we connected with Dykema, and now we're going to host this event on scaling your practices. So Dee, why don't you tell me a little bit about this event? Like, why do you think this is going to be helpful to dental practices that want to grow?
Well, I think it's going to be one of the kind in the industry. We're going to knock it out of the park, is what I say, Gary, all the time. And I think it's going to bring a new awareness on how and what we really need to do to scale, more of at a tactical level, an overview. Looking down, looking at your funnel, where do we really go? And I think, there hasn't been a lot of talk about that in the industry as far as, how do you put it all together? And I think that's the one thing that you and I are going to do well is put it all together. How do you put operations together with marketing? How do you look at the tracks? How do you get the awareness you need to grow? And I think, doing a little bit of a deep dive about that is going to be so helpful because look, we're hearing a lot of buzz right now in the industry about awareness, patient journeys. We're hearing about
Yeah.
metrics, and I think it's key time. And looking at it with us putting this together and some of the people that we're going to have that are going to be on our panels and how we're all working together to do this. I think the few little tactical things that they'll come away with
Yeah.
will really put them in that model of, when do I start scaling and what does it look like?
Yeah, that's such a good point, and I want to talk about those special guests if we can in a moment. But one thing that you helped me realize, Dee, nobody likes the word sales in the dental industry, right? So everybody removes that. So you have marketing, and then you have operations. And so what happens is people will either get really good at marketing, but they're horrible at their operations. The marketing patients never make it to the office, or they're amazing at operations, but they can't get more new patients. They can't grow the way that they want. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is that you remove sales from it. Like your front desk is actually your lowest paid person probably in your office, and they're your bottleneck at your front desk. And then that's the beginning, that's the tip of your patient journey. And once you help me realize that okay, this is, if we don't get clear on this, you can't have these two things siloed, operations and marketing. You have to have it all tied together. And because you don't have a sales department, you have to really dive into the weeds with them and help them lay out a plan. And I love the way that you laid out the patient journey at our boot camp and really help people visualize how the patient should be flowing through the offices.
Gary, I think we're going to look at here, right now there's a lot of buzz about the buying decision, right? What does that look like right now? And what I want us to bring together is, a couple of tracks. We want to look at awareness, how you develop awareness, how do they do their research from the patient's end to the team end, what's a consideration to spend money at your practice. And if you're spending money at the practice, you're going to have free cash flow to grow. So, and then put it together is, how do you make the patients move forward on the operations side and also on the marketing side. And I also think, which is really important that people don't really talk about, is the campaigns that are running in your offices. What do they look like operationally and what do they look like on the marketing side? So I'm excited about it because I don't think there's a lot of conversation about that right now, and I think there needs to be. It's a big KPI with and looking at it with what's going to happen at Dykema. I mean, we're all there to learn how to scale, right? We're all there to learn how to grow. But it comes back to what's your free cash flow looking like? And it starts with what you and I are going to be talking about at a higher level.
Hey, sorry to disrupt the show, but I just have a quick commercial for you. We are going to be hosting 4 events over the next 12 months, and we're doing a little bit of everything for everybody. We have something around full arch. We have something for those that manage marketing. We have something for those that want to scale their practice at Dykema. And then also, we have something next year that's for everybody in your practice to learn business skills and to really maximize the opportunities for you to grow your offices. You're not going to want to miss these. Visit smcnational.com/events. These are going to be the premier events that you're going to want to go to make sure that you're getting the tactical skills that you need to continue to grow the way that you want, because at SMC, we're all about growing. Now, can you talk about, are we allowed to talk about which speakers we're going to have there yet?
As soon as we get the agreements, we'll put it out, but there'll be some heavy hitters on our expert panel. And what I love about our expert panel is, Gary, we're going to open it up to the audience. It's going to be their questions, not ours. Love to poll the audience right then and there and say, what do you want to know about? And our experts have promised to get a little tactical, which they really can't do in a $2,000 room audience, but they can do it in our audience.
It'll get them in trouble. Yeah, and I think that's a great call out. It's capped at 100 people. So there's only going to be 100 people. So these are all going to be people who really want to learn and grow. And then we're going to open it up to the audience. I think we actually have a meeting later today to plan this out. I think we're going to have an app that people can just send in their questions, and then we can pull those up and ask. So that way you can actually get your questions answered. Because a lot of times, let's be honest, you and I have both seen it, where you have these guys that have 500 practices, 2,000 practices, whatever, and they get up and they give a speech. It's very inspirational, but really it creates more questions, right? You're like, whoa, how did you do that? How did you do that from 10 to 20? What did you guys do there? How did you get the financing for that? So you have all these questions. I think that's really exciting to be able to field questions like that. That's probably, you don't get that opportunity very often.
Yeah. And I really want them to talk about how they started, right?
Yes.
And I think, to me, that's key. And, how did they actually start? What was that spark of inspiration, and also the humps they went through? I think, we forget to talk about that when we're in a big audience. And, look, they've all agreed to kind of hang around with us for an hour or so, which is great. And, I am going to be one that's going to be asking, those types of questions to them. So tell me, how did you start? What did you look at? What was your awareness to do this? All those good questions. And I think you coming from, okay, when did you start marketing? Was it after you got your first office? Was it in between? What does it all look like? So they're going to walk away with a pretty decent roadmap.
What I'm most curious about, because this is kind of secret in the dental industry, is like, when did you start bringing your marketing in-house versus when did you start outsourcing versus did you never bring it in-house? Did you always keep it, in-sourced and outsourcing, a little bit of both? And I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer. I just think that getting clarity around that is so huge, because sometimes people have two practices and they're like, oh, I'm going to bring all my marketing in-house. And that doesn't make as much sense economically. And then sometimes people have 300 practices and they should bring their marketing in-house and they haven't. I am so excited to be able to ask those kind of questions.
And I think, Gary, one of the things I wanted to look at a little bit from this workshop, let's not focus on the number of offices. Let's focus on the number of providers and what's being generated on the revenue side, because that's your true spend. And also, I think the other thing that's going to be very unique about this workshop is, can you picture a Candyland board? We all played Candyland, right? I want them to walk away with that higher level roadmap on, okay, I'm looking at this here and I'm looking at this here, and I'm going to put operations and marketing together. I think it's just such a unique type of workshop. I'm hoping that we get invited back year after year, because it's going to be, phenomenal. But again, just let's bring the awareness to the industry on to grow smart. And that is key here, especially in the economic times we're in. You've got to grow smart.
Yeah, because I just did an interview recently, and we were talking about financing and how the financing has dried up. I mean, it's not 100%, but it's definitely slowed down. So you got to be smarter and more business savvy to be able to continue to grow the way that you want to.
And I think, a little bit, we'll talk about a little bit of technology, where that's at. We'll talk a little bit about, the new patient financing options that are out there. What I really wanted to come away with is, if you do great marketing and you have great operation technique, you're still going to have a great EBITDA. What does that all look like? Like I said, I'm excited about doing this with you, because I know that we align on our thinking process, and we just want our clients to be safe through this all. And, I think they'll walk out of there with the overview to say, okay, at least have somewhere to start on Monday morning. And then, as we do our podcast, we're able to answer them and take them down a road. It's kind of like I told someone the other day. I said, this is like the Wizard of Oz. Where do I start? Go down the yellow brick road. It's kind of what I told them. So I'm really excited about it. Like I said, I think it's going to be a slam dunk.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Dee. Any parting words for the audience that they should consider about this event? I don't think it's sold out yet, right?
I don't think it's sold out yet, but there's two things I want to tell you. Is the first is take all the negative buzz away. It's going to be positive. There's plenty of people that are still come to the dental offices, and keep learning. Workshops like this will keep you on track. Keep learning. It's a great time to grow because, like I said, fear does a lot of things to people. But the one thing I can tell you, don't be thinking what you can't do. Be thinking what you can do. And this
Yeah.
workshop's going to show us what you can do. So to me, I totally encourage it, not because it's us, but it's a great workshop for you and your teams.
Yeah. And one thing that I do know, Dee, this is my third recession that I've been through in the dental industry since I've been doing marketing. And the one thing that I know for sure is that people get scared, dentists get scared, just like any other business owners, and they pull back and they pull back on resources, marketing budgets, going to events, all those kind of things. And what happens is a couple people say, you know what? I'm not pulling back. I'm doubling down. I'm going to keep growing into this because there's still tons of patients that need dental and someone's going to get them. And why not make it you? But you can't do that if you're scared. If you're scared, you're never going to do that. And so you got to kind of step out of that fear and then step into that abundance mindset that there's still tons of opportunity. There's tons of great businesses, and we're going to continue to move into that. So I'm really, really excited about that. I love that and that mindset.
And to me, Gary, all the speakers that are coming, everybody that's going to be with us, they have an open mindset to be talking to these people in the room and to be available for them, which is kind of unique
Very
for
unique.
us. And hanging around, and I wouldn't be surprised if I see some of our speakers sitting at the table and trying to go help them out if they have specific questions. So it's all good. And my last parting words to everyone, that if you come to this workshop, I think you will be 100% pleased. And I think you will have a roadmap that will show you that as you tie these two tracks together, it's only success.
Yep, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dee. This is going to be really exciting. I appreciate you.
All right. Have a great day, Gary.
Bye bye.
Bye.